Welcome back, fellow adventurers, to a brand new video. I am your host, Professor Ben, and we are going through Swords and Wizardry, the complete rulebook, and this is pretty much where we're going to wrap up, guys. I know a lot of you have followed the series from the beginning, and I very much appreciate that, because I'm sure it wasn't nearly as good back then, but, you know, it's been a pretty long ride. This is video 13, episode 13. It's not quite the end, but it is the end of the learning section of Swords and Wizardry 101, and treasure is what we are talking about today. In last episode, we talked about monsters and how to use them. So if you missed that video, the playlist is in the description. It's the second link. And if you don't know, which I've tried to fit into every video, this PDF is absolutely free on the Frog God Games website. It's the first link in the description. So first link, free PDF of what we're looking at now, so you can follow along at home or have one for your table. And then the second link is the entire video playlist, which shows all of these videos. Now, like I said, the treasure section is where we wrap up the actual teaching. However, there were many requests in the comments to have me do a wrap-up session, basically where I map the dungeon, insert monsters, insert treasure, all that kind of stuff, like, put it all together to actually show what I've been teaching, which I can't believe I was wanting to do something like that, but I'm glad you guys reminded me, because I remember, we joke like Professor Ben and all that kind of stuff, but genuinely, in school, I work best when I'm actually seeing something done or doing something hands-on. So I'm totally going to do that, and that's going to be the last video of the series, and it's just going to bring it all together. But enough about the future and where we're going with that. We have the treasure section. Now, treasure is we finally completed our adventure. We defeated or maneuvered around the monsters, and now we get to award ourselves and bring our wagon, or grab our wagon and bring all of our treasure back to town. And we're talking about this little, I like this picture a lot. So the first thing that is in the treasure section is generating a random treasure hoard. I'm going to skip past this because I want to first explain what the treasures are, and instead of just saying you get a magic armor, let's go down and talk about what all these are specifically. So for sake of ease, I don't know, that's not a term, whatever that term is. For ease of use, there we go. There are abbreviations. So A is any class, C is cleric and druid, F is fighter, paladin, ranger, M is magic user, T is thief classes like assassin, monk, thief. So those are just some abbreviations to keep in mind when we're looking at the tables that we're about to scroll down to, because it will genuinely help when instead of scrolling up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. So potions are our first one, which are these strange alchemical brews that are used to power yourself, or sometimes to even take away power from another person, sort of like poison. An important note here is potions are usable by all classes except monks, unless noted otherwise. In most of my campaigns, I've just had monks allowed to use them. The tricky part with something like potions, where it's that is a very universal magic item. For me, I want to keep it universal. I don't want to have someone be left out. But if you're going by the rules as written, you can have monks not be able to use them. So a lot of these are potions that are spells in drinkable potion form. So as we see here, here's an entire list of potions, and then if we go down further, we have the magic potions and their descriptions. So we got animal control, clairvoyance, dragon control, extra healing, fire resistance, all these kind of things. And it's totally okay if we see a couple examples here is as per the spell. So these are spells. So if there's other spells that you would see reasonable in potion form, you can make them a potion. Totally, if that's totally up to you. One of my favorite ones is the treasure finding potion. A character drinking this wonderful concoction detects hoards of treasure within 400 feet. So we're just talking about treasure right now, and it's fun to be able to find treasure with your treasure, because generally a potion is found in a treasure hoard. So the duration is 1d6 plus 6 turns. That is just the universal effect. You can increase that or decrease that depending on the potion if you'd like. And also, if you are filling a dungeon with or getting a reward for the PCs, you can have them roll, or you can roll your D100 with your percentile dice, and then whatever that number is, they get that potion. Now keep in mind, if they're low-level adventurers, a potion of extra healing is pretty strong. Same with like flying is pretty strong at that level. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them that are strong, so keep in mind that you might have to give them something different that matches their level, or it's totally okay is for have them have this, because a potion is a one-off thing. You drink it and it's over. At least that's how I run it. Is you drink it and there's no drinking half of it for half the abilities. In my game, you have to drink the entire thing to gain all of the abilities. But of course, that is up to you. So potions are pretty easy. There one other to keep in mind here is the poison potion. The drinker must make a successful saving throw or die. Some poisons cause instant death, other within a certain amount of rounds. In other editions of D&D, the potion of poison looks like a potion of healing, so you really don't know the difference, but I believe in those editions, and the first one I'm thinking of right now is 5th edition, is that it doesn't instantly kill you, it just does a lot of damage. So you can have it either do a lot of damage or kill them. That's just the only thing I'm going to bring up real quick. The rest of them are pretty... They're pretty self-explanatory. You know, the descriptions are pretty easy. And this is going to follow the same theme of like the monster section, where I would love to go over every single detail of every potion and every magic item, but simply just don't have the time to do that. And like I said, you know, Matt Finch, the writer and designer for this, perfectly states out what they all do. So, and again, of course, if you have any questions, just let me know and I will answer them. So with the exception, we're going to scrolls now. Scrolls. With the exception of protection scrolls, which can be used by any character class, scrolls can only be used by a character class that can cast the appropriate spell. Rangers and thieves are exceptions to this rule at higher levels, and we talked about in the class description. So for example, like if you have a cleric scroll, only clerics can read that. And we're going to talk about protection scrolls in a second. So here's just like a random generator of what kind of scrolls you're going to find. I think this is just a good metric for you to fill your dungeons with, of like there's either a 50-50 chance of a low-level party finding level 1 spell scroll, or 3, 1 to 3. So just take it again, make sure it's somewhat balanced. But if you do have a very high magic campaign and a high fantasy campaign where the characters aren't just taking care of like goblins for 5 levels, you can just give them more powerful magic items and just kind of skip ahead to the end game a little bit more. So those are the scrolls. They are imbued with the spells of that class. So you know how it says just like 8 spells. You pick cleric spells and you pick magic user spells, and it's up to you of what you want to put on the scroll. So that's how you do that. But as you can see in the table here, there's different ones. There's like curse scrolls and protection scrolls. So we're going to go over that right now. So protection scrolls are exactly what they sound like. They help you defend against a very extraterrestrial being. So like you see here, we have demons, elementals, magic, undead, were creatures. Then there's stuff like drowning, metal, and poison that are more normal. So like the demons one, you are protected from all attacks for demons, 1 attack per round for the duration of 40 minutes, and that's anyone within a 10-foot radius of you. So that should be your entire adventuring party, as long as you're collected. Oh, my cat. As long as you're all collected with each other when you cast a spell or cast a scroll. And how I do it is, once you cast a scroll once, it's gone. There's no casting it multiple times, unless stated here. There's 5 spells on the scroll, and they have certain levels of each. So that's pretty much how you do that. Like I said, they're pretty self-explanatory. The curse scrolls is where it gets fun, though, because sometimes you go to read a scroll and it's not what it seems. Curse scrolls can inflict curses ranging from the amusing, annoying, all the way to catastrophic. So a successful saving throw will allow the reader to avoid the curse, and most curses can be reviewed by the remove curse spell. So while reading it, you have to make a saving throw, and if you pass, this doesn't happen. but if you fail, this is going to happen unless you remove curse on the scroll. So as you see, we have like blindness here, which is going to be unfortunate for 3d6 turns, but it's really not going to be a deal breaker in most situations. We have confusion, where you're just acting crazy, despondency, where you don't refuse to go anywhere, and then you have the Matt Finch special, which is instant death. It seems like there's a common trend here with Matt wanting people to die. So yeah, you can have them roll for that. Or, you know, how I usually do it is, like, if I'm going to put in a scroll, what I do is I roll and I say there's a 10% chance for this scroll to be cursed. I will roll behind my screen or just before the session starts, and if I roll under 10, then it's cursed. And I just randomly roll my d20 to see what curse. So I usually do this stuff ahead of time as opposed to right when it comes up. But if you are a last minute goer, then there's no problem with that either. So now moving down to magic armor and weapons. This is something that mostly everyone is going to be involved with in some way. So there's a couple different ones again, like there's cursed, there's cursed kinds, there's melee, there's shield, there's armor, and there's unusual weapons and armor. And I'll just go one by one and start going down the tables. Again, these are pretty self-explanatory, and if you're deciding what kind of armor, you can roll on this little table here, and it'll do it for you. So, a +1 shield is going to give you an add 1 to your armor class. A +1 melee weapon is give you a better chance to hit, that kind of thing. So the cursed ones, however, there's a couple different cool ones. -1 weapon and armor, -2, -3. This one is attract missiles, so even when a friendly fire, it gets attracted to you and you get hit by it. This number 7, if you roll a 7, causes the wearer to run away from combat. Number 8 causes the wearer to charge into combat. So if you're rolling randomly for what weapon, you can use this table, perfectly handed out for you. And remember this asterisk here, if you have this weapon that is cursed, you cannot put it down unless you have a remove curse. Like if you don the armor, your character can't just take it off once they find out it's cursed. You have to use a remove curse spell on it. Think of sort of like a golem type. I know I use I use a lot of Hobbit, Lord of the Rings references here. But Tolkien is obviously a big inspiration for fantasy worlds. So think of it like Gollum or Smeagol, where he's just super obsessed with the ring and can't get rid of it because it truly is a cursed magic item in many ways. So if you have ability to remove curse, then you would be able to remove curse afterwards. So here's a little asterisk as well. Magic swords are often quite unique in their abilities, and some actually intelligent in some way. A magical melee weapon that is determined to be a sword, even if the original result of the die roll does not include minor ability or unusual weapon, has a 25% chance to be a unique sword. So then we unlock the chance to have a uniqueness to it. So it can be like a flaming sword. It can be a dancing sword where it hovers next to you and fights. Sorry, my cat's like running all over me. And then we also have you can use detect magic. It can give you flying abilities. Swords are very cool. And then the also cool thing about swords, and you can choose this or not, is it can be like sting. Like magical swords in old school editions generally glow. They generally glow blue is how I've always done it, or another color if you want, when they are unsheathed. So if you unsheath it and it glows and puts a little light around you of like 10 feet, you can do that as well. I'm not sure if that's just in this table here. I don't have all of them memorized off the top of my head. But that is another thing you can do with magical swords. I've never really seen it done with other weapons, but you totally could with others if you would want. The other, I guess, ones that I would just point out that are awesome is it can become intelligent and communicate with you telepathically. So it's called a sentient weapon, where it also sort of has a mind of its own, which is pretty fun and can bring out a lot of different unique situations. So here is just some more minor abilities for melee weapons. Like I said, right here, shed light. I knew it was in here somewhere. So you can have it be for any melee weapon or any weapon that you want, really. But the importance there is whether you want it to or not. So those are the abilities that it can have if you're rolling it up for yourself. And we can even go into specifics here of unusual weapons where it's a +1 blunt weapon that destroys undead on hit, a +1 thrown weapon that returns to your hand. You get additional bonuses against certain foes. A super weapon that's +4/+5. Those are very strong. I mean, wow, you're pretty much like a god being at that point. And then you have more like the flaming weapon, which does fire damage. The freezing weapon, which does like sort of cold damage. The dancing weapon, which like is an animated weapon that like hovers to the side of you and like fights alongside you. And then the intelligent weapon. So there's so many opportunities with weapons that it's like inconceivable to boil it down to like a distinct list. And I got my Disney coffee mug today. I know I don't drink a lot of coffee. It's got Walt in front of the castle. It says Vision on it, so pretty cool. Okay, then unusual armor. So just again, it can be just very strong bonuses, which is like +4/+4/+5, and then a +5 shield. And then you get into cool stuff like armor of arrow deflection. So missile shots that are aimed at you have a -2 to hit. Demonic armor possessed by the spirit of a demon. So that like could open a whole can of worms to like try to get rid of the demon out of the armor. Ethereal armor, which is +3 plate mail, which is amazingly strong. And then you can only be hit by ethereal beings. So pretty cool, right? And you can use it 50 times, and then it goes back to just +3 plate mail. Fiery armor, +1 armor that's surrounded by flames, and it deals 1 to 3 damage to anyone attacking you with melee weapons. And of course, I would count that as fire damage mainly. So then we get a little bit into remarkable magic items like wands, rings, staves, and miscellaneous enchanted items. And this is kind of where we get a little bit more specific. So like, let's go to wands first. Wands can only be used by magic users. This is a very interesting thing. I know a lot of people have, other classes have the abilities to use wands. But generally I just do magic users, and then sometimes I'll allow clerics or druids to have them. So wands can cast spells unless they, and it has a certain amount of charges. So as you can see here, if we roll on this chart and we're determining what sort of lesser wand we get, it has a spell on it of level 1, and then it has 10 charges. Sorry, I just scrambled my words completely there. It can be recharged by casting the spell back into the wand. Each such recharge where the spell is cast into the wand has a 5% chance of destroying the wand for good. In some cases, a non-rechargeable wand might be found with a large number of charges. So that's always fun as well. So determine as a referee what you want to do with that when that comes up. And then there's your greater wands, which can hold more spell slots and more charges. And then there's also your specific wands, like your wands of cold, wands of fear, wands of I usually say paralyzation, but paralyzing, and wands polymorph. So again, all the descriptions are down here for those that are perfectly put out for you. Wand of paralyzation is it causes paralysis. Early into one of my first campaigns in first edition, my group found a wand of paralyzation or paralyzing in the Keep on the Borderlands in the caves. And they actually ended up paralyzing a minotaur and killed it, and it was like their first big boss fight, and they thought really quickly to go reach for their wand of paralyzation and kill it with that. So that was really fun. Just a little quick story there. And again, yeah, go ahead and I hate to say like I can't go over everyone, but as you guys know, and it would probably bore you to death anyway. So rings. The rings are very cool as well because you cannot wear 2 or more of them at a time. Or have dire consequences. I run anyone can wear these rings, and they have cool. The lesser ones are pretty simple: fire resistance, invisibility, mammal control, poison resistance, protection, +1 and 2. As you can see here, like A for anyone can use them, and then even in the greater section, there's the magic user specific one of spell storing, and the spell storing for cleric, as you can see there. So genie summoning, you can summon a genie to do the bidding of you. There's fire resistance, which gives you +5 saving throws against magical magical fire, and you're immune to normal fire. And then invisibility is just as it sounds, poison resistance, all these kind of things that help you out. The 3 wishes, the ring of 3 wishes, these rings grant the bearer 3 wishes. Beware of the outrageous wishes, they backfire. Like, for example, if you wish for 1,000,000 gold, the gold from all the kingdom's banks can disappear, and they track it down to you, and then they arrest you for stealing from the crown. That kind of thing, Make sure they're specific with their wishes, because if not, it'll backfire on them. So now staves, or staffs. Like wands, most staffs operate by using charges. However, they are not easily rechargeable as wands. Magic users will have to figure out how it is done, or hire a wizard to do it if such knowledgeable wizard can be found. Most staves carry, I keep saying staves, most staffs carry 200 charges. So then we have a bunch of unique ones, what I love about staffs a lot. I think staffs should really be given out to a lot of magic users, especially like at low level, because it's such a good way to give low level wizards things to do other than throwing darts. Even if it's just like striking, which we can see down here. Striking, the staff inflicts 2d6 points of damage with a successful hit. Does not use charges. So just stuff like that will help out your clerics and your magic users contribute to combat at lower levels. And as we can see here, they're either used by clerics or magic users. You can't be using them, as fighters or anything like that. The one that is pretty strong is Resurrection, that I would tell you to look out for. Has 10 charges, but you can use Raise Dead. If you want to have a campaign where the characters play the same characters for the entire time, then you can give this out at a low level. It's totally okay. Or what you can do as well is make sure you can give one of the clerics in a local town a Staff of Resurrection, and you can have that cleric charge the PCs to resurrect one of their buddies, one of their friends. And of course, you have to pay, even though they are a bearer of the light of the good gods of law. They're you still have to pay for those kind of services because they're very drastic. And then we get into miscellaneous magic items, and my lordy lord, these are the best parts about the game. There's just an endless, from Bag of Holding to Boots of Elvenkind to Deck of Many Things. I highly recommend you downloading this PDF for free and reading through all of these, because even if you aren't specifically playing Swords and Wizardry, there's a lot of really cool stuff. Sorry, I keep burping. I always burp during this. I never burp during the day. I want you guys to know that. I only ever burp when I do this, probably because I'm talking so much and drinking coffee. But that's where you find all these random magic items, and that's pretty much it. Again, I can't really go through all these. I can only recommend you download the PDF for free. Top link in the description. Now let's go back up to these randomizer tables real quick before we're done. Oop, went too far again, and back down. All right, so treasures that you find. So you should begin by multiplying the total XP value of the monsters by 1 to 3 plus 1. So that's like a maximum of 4, minimum of 2. This is the total gold piece value of the hoard for purposes of determining what is in it. So that's the total value of gold pieces. So that doesn't mean that entire loot is gold pieces. That could be a necklace worth 100 gold pieces, or you find like a ewer that is made of gold that is worth 75 gold. That kind of thing. Always, I would say, give out different kinds of treasure. So, for example, don't give out just gold all the time, because it just is kind of boring, and sometimes you have to give them some things they would have to liquidate, like gems and amulets and stuff, so that way they have to earn it a little bit even more. Check the table below, in which there is a chance of a trade out of some gold for more interesting and possibly more valuable types of treasure, such as gems and magic items. Do not start subtracting gold until you have checked for all 3 types of trades: 100 gold pieces, 1,000, and 5,000. After doing the trade outs, when you know the remaining gold piece value of the coins, divide that into whatever denominations: platinum, gold, silver, copper, and other you wish. So, for example, you have 1,000 gold pieces worth of treasure in there, you can substitute that for a magic item instead of just doing 1,000 gold pieces. So these tables will help you do that and figure out exactly what sort of value you should be giving them. And like I said, even if you give them gold pieces, maybe give them gems instead, which could possibly be more valuable as long as they find the right buyer. And keep in mind as well, a lot of people run, like say you find a gem worth 100 gold pieces. That doesn't mean they get to sell it for that means it's worth 100 gold pieces. If they find an individual who's looking for that gem, sure, they could charge them 100. But if they bring it to a store where the store is just going to resell that, the store is most likely going to give them 50% of the value. So they're only going to buy it for 50 gold as opposed to 100 gold. So just keep that in mind as well when you're giving out treasure and stuff. And overall, just know your party. Know what you need to give them for them to succeed. If it's a group of mainly fighters, don't really go be giving them staves or wands because they're really not going to be able to use them. Sure, they could probably try to sell them, but then a lot of complications come in, like thieves hear wind or catch wind that you are trying to get rid of these magic items, and they flock to you and try to steal it from you. So, if you want to do it that way, that's totally okay. It can bring up a lot of fun adventures. But either way, that's going to kind of wrap it up for me for the treasure section. And yeah, this pretty much wraps up Swords and Wizardry 101. We got through the entire book in only 13 videos. That's pretty darn good. Like I said, though, here's the character sheet at the end as well if you want to use the Swords and Wizardry official character sheet. And again, you can have access to this by downloading the PDF for free and then printing out this page specifically. And you can do that however many times you need to play at home. So the next video that I'm going to be doing is putting it all together. I'm going to craft a dungeon. I'm going to put a narrative behind it. I'm going to fill it with monsters, and then I'm going to put treasure inside. So it's going to give you guys a really good example of how to run Swords and Wizardry for your games at home. And I'm going to make it a low-level adventure for those people who haven't played before. So even if you wanted to grab that adventure and run it for yourselves, you totally could. So thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have any inclination to keep watching our crazy videos. Like the video if you enjoyed it any time. Comment down below your favorite magic items to receive and give out if you are a referee. And that's pretty much it from me, guys. Be good, be safe, be good to each other, and keep going on adventures worth winning.